Welcome to the Mentor Moments podcast, presented by the Boulett Mentoring Program in the Scott College of Business at Indiana State University. I'm your host, Jared, and I'm here to dive into the inspiring stories of our successful alumni and learn valuable insights from their mentoring experiences. Discover the power of mentorship, gain practical advice, and unlock your potential. Let's get started. Hello, Sycamores. In this installment of Mentor Moments, we're honored to have Shelly Langona, president of RJE Business Interiors, join us. As a successful alumna of the Scott College of Business, Shelly's career journey offers some invaluable insights. We'll discuss her educational background, the pivotal role of mentorship in her professional growth, and RJE's customer-centric philosophy. Shelly will share her experiences, the qualities of effective mentor-mentee relationships, and the importance of professional communication. Additionally, we'll explore RJE's commitment to exceptional customer care and their Hug Your People initiatives. As always, this episode is designed to provide practical advice and inspiration for students and professionals alike. Tune in to learn more about building successful careers and fostering positive work environments.
Hey friends, Jared here with Shelly Langona, president of the Indiana market for RJE Business Interiors.
Yes.
I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Same.
Graduate from Indiana State University.
Yep. 2007, College of Business with a business management degree.
Management, awesome. Well, let's hear a little more about that origin story. Kind of talk a little bit about college life, maybe first few jobs, and how you got into being the president of RJE Business Interiors and on the 40 under 40 list for Indianapolis.
Yeah, thank you. So came to ISU because my family did. I had two brothers who came to Indiana State and I would come visit. And then when I was deciding, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go to school? I was just drawn to Indiana State. So came to Indiana State, knew I wanted to do business, joined the Chi Omega sorority as well, where I did serve as president my junior year of the sorority, which might have been one of my hardest jobs, leading all those women. And then graduated in 2007, as I mentioned, with a business management degree. Met my husband here. He was in the aviation program. So we continued our journey from there, and right out of school, it was like, okay, what do I want to do with this degree? There's a lot of good options. So I actually joined the United Way of Central Indiana, joined the nonprofit side of things, and really was passionate, grew up around philanthropy, a family that was philanthropic, and joined their campaign staff. So I was going out and asking all these companies and people for money, when the hardest thing was I didn't have something to give them in return directly. Sure. So really enjoyed that, got great experience there. And then it was shortly after that I was approached about joining RJE. I started there at the end of 2008 in sales. Love that, love working with people, love working with clients, helping them see their space. And I always had a natural gravitation to the operation and the process side of the business. So as I grew into that started leading me into some different positions within RJE. Some leadership, but also keeping sales and being able to work through both of those. And I did that for about 10 and a half years total between some leadership and sales. In May of 2019, I was promoted to the president of RJE for our Indianapolis market. So I've been doing that role for 5 years. So my job really is to make sure that the day-to-day is functioning. We have a great team, great people. I couldn't do it without them, but to make sure we're taking care of our clients and also the internal client as well, and helping produce beautiful, great spaces for our clients.
That's awesome. Yeah. And RJE is not just a interior design firm. You do a lot with that business. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's really migrated. Originally you started with furniture, and that was the primary focus. And although that's a big thing that we do in helping create a space, there is the design component. There are acoustical products. There is research. There is technology. There's a lot of different things that come into it. Now, taking a warm space and helping create what is that functionality that people want, and what are they going to create for their clients or for themselves or for their employees as they go forward. It's really awesome for us to say, we did this space, and how do people feel and function in it as they work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was doing a little sleuthing, if you will. Tell me a little bit about the Hive.
Yes. So healthcare is an area that RJE has worked in for a long time. So as we look at our business, we work in higher ed, healthcare, corporate, government, K through 12, all different areas, and helping create solutions. Healthcare is a space that we have been in for a long time and helped many clients. We have never been able to tell the story the exact way in which we wanted to. So the opportunity was presented with a space that's just located right behind our current building, where we said, is this a space we want to take and really create a healthcare experience? So the Hive stands for Healthcare Interiors Visionary Experiences. And so what we've created in there with our interior construction product, which is also something else that we do, I failed to mention that earlier, and with our healthcare solutions, is creating an immersive experience where people can come in, they can brainstorm, they can meet, they can move things around, they can start really having the conversations around what is needed in the healthcare, not just hospitals, but when you think of anything, doctor's offices, when you think of any other medical or healthcare space that people function in, we created the space so they can come in and really live in it and get an experience for themselves. It's really cool.
It seems like, most hospitals, doctors' offices I go to, a lot of times they're very sterile.
Yes, maybe not so comfortable all the time. So that makes a function. Still got to be cleanable. You still got to be able to do the things the facilities need done, mixed with comfort and an aesthetic that is appealing, that people feel welcome and warm in there. Sometimes when you're in a healthcare facility, it's not always a good thing. And so how can them feel better when they're having that experience?
Yes, your environment impacts your feeling.
It does. It really does.
Well, let's chat a little bit about mentorship, since that's the podcast.
Yeah.
Right? Can you tell me how mentorship has maybe played a role in your professional success?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things that you don't always know how it can really help you until you get the experience. And I think that's the key thing about, as we think about providing it to people as an option, even when they don't know that it's something they may want or need. For me, I didn't know this when I started at United Way. One of the things I didn't realize was the little habits we all do, right? And so I went to one of my first meetings, very young, out of school, with one of the vice presidents. We left the meeting and she said, I have a suggestion. I said, what's that? She said, don't bring a clicking pen anymore. And she said, you clicked your pen the entire time. And I thought I had no idea. And to me, that was part of her mentoring me and helping me understand things to do in a professional setting and what might be distracting or not. And so it can start as small as having those people in your life who help you with those moments, even when they might be something that you're like, ooh, I didn't love hearing that, all the way to, I work with an executive coach now, worked with different sales coaches, and those have really helped me in my role. And they've also helped me personally. Maybe they don't always start that way, that you think it's going to help you personally, but who we are as a whole human is really important. It's not just saying, who is Shelly as an employee at RJE, a leader at RJE. It's who is Shelly as a whole. And when I'm centered and when I'm a good human, then I think that translates out into the rest of everything I do, whether it's being a mom, a wife, or a leader at RJE. And so mentorship has always been something, once I got a taste of it, I've always wanted more. And I invite people to mentor me, talk to me, share with me. I don't think there's an age in which that stops. 100%. You're always learning and growing.
You mentioned when your vice president gave you that feedback, you said that that was a mentorship opportunity. I think one of the reasons is because they said, do you want a suggestion? They didn't say, don't you ever bring a clicky pen to another meeting.
Correct.
It was, do you want feedback? Yes. And then when you said yes, the feedback was given, and it was not given in a criticizing way. It was more given like, hey, I'm here to make you better.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think that's one of the things, and I've learned that just in my leadership role, is that there are tough conversations we all have to have in all facets of our life. And when you think about how you approach it, it can totally change the setting and the tone to where someone really understands you want to help them versus it sounding mean or rude. And then what do people do? They get defensive. That's our human nature. So how is there a way that you sit down and say, hey, I just want to talk to you about something, and would you be open to this? When they are, it creates a different dynamic to where you can have a conversation and say, thank you for helping me grow, helping me think better. We all learn through experiences, and fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, part of that is age. The older we get, the more experiences we have, and they teach us something. Those of us who have more experience can help teach those below us. It doesn't matter at what age. A teenager can teach a kid. A professional can teach a college student. There's many ways in which that can go.
100%. Yeah. Do you have a current mentor? I know you said you work with a executive coach now.
I would say there's one by default, if you will, and then one that I mentioned, my executive coach. She's been someone I worked with for a long time, from sales training to executive coaching, and really she's become a friend and a mentor. She's there to help me. She's there to tell me the hard things. She's there to help me with the good things. She's there to encourage me, and she's there to help me think of things totally different. And that's part of it. We are all different humans, and we see things and hear things and do things very different. And the invitation to, we meet weekly, but it's not always just a business setting. We've gone to her home sometimes downtown. We've gone out to lunch. We go to different places so we can support whatever that conversation may be. And the other one is my dad. So I am fortunate I actually get to work with my dad. That's been something that you never dream or think is going to happen. And I've now done that for almost 16 years at RJE. He is the current owner and CEO of the business. So naturally, as a dad, it's a mentor, and also as a leader and someone I've been able to learn from and someone I lean on for all of those different things, whether it's business or professional. I have the opportunity to do that. So those two people are really two people I learn from. And of course, through networking and different relationships, I'd say I have a little bit of mentorship in a lot of different settings, whether I'm helping be the mentor or they are helping mentor me. I think that's part of it. These relationships we create, you go out because you create a different bond with different people that help you in different ways.
Was this a relationship that you said, oh, I need her as my coach and I'm choosing her and I'm going to go get her and make that happen? Or did you have to go through one or two coaches before you found somebody?
It's really interesting. Nancy is her name, and we met many years ago. It started when I was on the sales team. She worked with our sales team on formal sales training. So I got to work with her then, got some mentorship, but I was in a different place in my career and life. And she had moved on to a couple different things. In a very organic way, Nancy came back into our lives and started doing some different work again. We just started talking to regain a relationship and understand where was I now, where was she now, where was RJE now. We started talking more, and it really then started to fold into, I find a lot of value in you. Her skills and where she was at were really going to be helpful to me and where I was wanting to go with my career. So we did work with someone else in between, and I didn't imagine when I previously worked with her that this would be where I'd be sitting today and working with her, but it just clicked and it felt right. And sometimes that just happens where it's someone bonds with you in multiple ways that helps you, like I said, as that whole human, versus just saying, I want to be really good at my career. I need that person. For me, it was really about a personal fit, cultural fit, and that skill that she has in her experience to help me on the career side too.
You were able to build a relationship outside of just this transactional professional relationship.
Correct. I would absolutely say friend.
Yeah.
She was very supportive. So in my IBJ 40 under 40 recognition, there was a day I got asked to be on the cover of that magazine somehow. I was wearing a blazer jacket and she said, do you have like a little brooch or something, to wear? And I said, I don't, but I'd love one. She had this collection of them and gave me one to wear that day. Well, later, after the breakfast of the formal award and all of that, I met with her and she gifted me that brooch that she gave me. Nice. So that very much to me is someone who's not a friend or feels passionately about you and your relationship with them would have done that. So I would absolutely say she's a friend. Yeah.
That's a good person. Just
it is.
Not, mentor, friend, yes, but just a good person.
And being vulnerable with each other, that's another thing that's hard to do as a human anyway, to be vulnerable in multiple settings. And she's the person I can laugh, I can cry, I can have all the emotions.
Sure. And having two different mentors in two very different spaces, right? Can you talk a little bit about maybe those conversations and how they're different?
Sure. I would say with Denny, my dad, and I call him Denny in business, so sometimes I have to remember to call him dad. Outside of that, it's very much been about learning our business, but also about being a leader. I've seen that from day one, not only as a kid, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, growing up and seeing different things and different experiences, to going out and doing my own career for a couple of years before being recruited, if you will, to come to RJE, not by Denny, by another person.
Sure.
I've always gotten to see how he leads, how calm he is, how personable he is, genuine he is, very generous, all of those things. So for me, I've always looked to him for that, not only just in observance, but obviously you asked, how did you know and how do you do it? And I think I found that he and I are very similar in that good way. You joke and say sometimes when you're like a parent or a sibling, it's sometimes the best qualities and sometimes it's the qualities where you rub arms, but we really don't. Yes, we're very different people and we see different lenses, and that's okay, and that's how it's supposed to be. Sure. But really learning that leadership and how to treat people as a whole, not only in our business, but outside of it. And then really just feeling that responsibility that I'm not going to ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do. Because he's owner and CEO and because I'm president doesn't mean that other people aren't important and all of that. So I've really leveraged and looked to him and learned from him in that way. And Nancy, again, is really about this journey of meeting where I'm at and understanding my goals and where I really want to go as a human and in my career. Denny, of course, yes, as a human too, but really needs that outside source.
Yeah, having multiple perspectives on the mentor side is huge.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Why do you think it's important for business students in particular to have a mentor? I mean, you talked about sales coaching and
Yeah.
leadership coaching, but for the business students that are listening to this right now, why
Mm-hmm.
should they get a mentor?
There are things we just don't always know, or we don't get the lens or get to see until we live it. And I think being able to help share different experiences, different lenses, and just helping people grow as a human is great. And I think being a business student myself, one thing that I think would have been great, and I think ISU has evolved in this, is really helping give students, other people, whether it's business people, whether it's whatever they're looking to go into when they leave here, there is a professional way of being. There are good listening skills that you need to be aware of. And sometimes we live in our own bubble and don't understand what's outside of that from the business perspective, and where people's goals are within that business school. It's really important to be able to get some other ideas, someone to bounce the ideas off of. So it's just the saying, right? If somebody talks to somebody within the school, that's wonderful. And it's the inside view.
Mm-hmm.
How do we help give them that outside view that are multiple experiences? No matter how old you are, how long you've done it, once you step out these doors and get into that real world, there's a lot of different things, and there's a lot of opportunities. I think that's the other thing, is I didn't realize all the opportunities that were available to me. And so I think the more we can share about different industries, different people to get to know, different things to leverage, it's going to put you in a different position when it does come time for you to graduate and or go find a job, or even your next job after that. What is it that you may not know now that you get to talk to someone else and get that outside view?
Yeah, those networks are really important, and those different viewpoints, being able to synthesize what you learn in the classroom out in the real world. Mm-hmm. So what do you think are some good qualities a good mentor should possess?
Mm-hmm. Good listening skills.
Okay.
Even as a mentor, you really need to understand what someone's saying to you,
Mm-hmm.
or asking you. Professionals at times can think they know everything. It's just that we're some years ahead. It's really important to listen to what the mentee is asking or saying. I think it's just being a human and really leveling and making sure they feel comfortable, the mentee does, and asking questions and having a good personality, showing professionalism, helping guide them, just being open, being available to them. Phone calls, meetings, different things. I think it's the one thing I would say is time is of value, and it's a gift I can give. We maybe always can't give financially to things. We maybe can't always do other things, but we can give time. And as a mentor, I think it's really important to make sure we are also open to learning. You mentioned that earlier. We're not just there to talk at them. We're there to listen and say, I just learned something from you. Mm-hmm. We're all the product of an environment in which we were born and raised, and the product of an environment in which we live. So if we can learn from each other, that's really important for mentors to be open to as well.
So those listening skills create that two-way relationship where you're not just listening to what the mentee is asking, but you're also listening to what the mentee is telling you to.
Absolutely.
So out of the mentees that you've mentored, what are some of the best qualities that you think a good mentee has?
I will say someone who follows up and wants a relationship with you as well. In whatever capacity that could be, that looks different. One of the best experiences I had here at ISU in being a mentor was a student who was really interested in having a mentor. They were eager to learn. They were eager to create a relationship. And so we would meet for coffee over here. We would go to lunch. We would text each other. And as she was going out and graduating to get a job, it was like, okay, how's it going? Where are you at? Give me some advice on this and different things. So for me, I think mentees really need to be open to it. If it's something they're not interested in at that point in time, it's not something they believe they want to do, I would say be open and try it. And the other side is wait till it does feel right for you, or something might change, because the worst thing is creating that where it's one-sided. And I think mentees, it's harder as maybe they're just in different places. They're trying to balance school, work, home, and other things. It can seem overwhelming. I would tell them to, remain open, take opportunities, and be good listeners. Sometimes we all were at a certain age that we thought we knew everything. Maybe that never changes. I don't know. But I think making sure they're open and listening just as much. I think the qualities really go back and forth between a mentor and a mentee in my mind.
Sure.
And that helps create a great relationship between the two.
Every single person we've interviewed so far has said that follow-up is a quality for a good mentee. That was the first thing that you said. So that's very interesting.
Okay.
So everyone's different, right? We have different experiences. How would you suggest a student approach someone for that mentor-mentee relationship, whether it's the president of the Indiana RJE, the president of Indiana State University, or the president of the United States?
Yeah.
How would you suggest somebody reach out?
Sure. I think the first thing is make sure you do your research. And what I mean by that is there are some people, like I would say I am 100% fine with someone reaching out to me directly. I'm a human, I'm open, come straight to me, send me a message. I'm good with that. Every company is a different size. Every responsibility of a president of whatever it could be is different. So I say do your research and making sure you're going through the right channel to work to contact them, whether it's an assistant, whether it's through another contact that said, hey, you should meet so-and-so or approach them for this. Do your research and know not only what you're doing to reach out, make sure you also know about that organization and a little bit about them. That's really critical. If you're like, oh, I don't really know anything and you're not prepared to talk or ask questions, someone's probably going to be like, yeah, I'm not interested either. So I would say do your research, make sure you do that. The second thing is always be professional and remember that people are human. One thing I think we have the advantage here in Indiana, and we were just talking about this in a networking opportunity the other day. Indiana is great. People talk about 6 degrees of separation. Indiana is more like 2 or 3. There are so many kind people that are willing to help pick up a phone and connect you with someone or help leverage that. So I say that as in use your humans, use people. We're all, title or not, we're all human beings. Likely what you find is everyone is interested in similar things or is willing to talk, or hey, you might have something in common. Maybe you went to the same school. Maybe you have a sibling that is connected. There could be a million things. Always continue to be a professional because people want that. Just call. Don't be super nervous. Don't overthink it or overdo it. Write down what you really are wanting to ask and do it in a professional manner. If you can do those things and do your homework and be prepared, someone's going to be willing to chat with you or kindly let you know where they're at. You're most likely not going to get a door in your face with no conversation if you can handle it in those different ways. I would appreciate that. I would like the professionalism, and also I'm good with people reaching to me directly, but it could be different for different organizations.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, though, probably don't slide into somebody's DMs and be like, hey, yo, I need a mentor.
No, give me a professional call at my business or an email or LinkedIn, something like that. I want to be reached out to in professional channels. And then from there, if I say, hey, it's okay to text me or something, that's great. I'll let you know how we're going to communicate. But yeah, I would not say that like, hey, bro. Although my kids call me bro. I'm like, I'm not your bro. I would say definitely doing it in all the professional manners is highly respected and appreciated.
Understand why you want to connect with that particular person, right? I think you mentioned do your research, understand the business, understand the person you're connecting to.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not the president of the company that you really need to connect to. It's somebody in sales, somebody in marketing.
Know what you're really doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah. You have been a mentor as well as benefited from the guidance of a mentee relationship. We talked about listening skills being one of those skills that both a mentor and a mentee need. What are some other things that make a really good mentor-mentee relationship?
Yeah. I want to comment on listening. I think it's really important. When we say be a good listener, make sure you're listening, don't listen with the intent to respond. Really listen with the intent to understand. And I think that's what happens often is people are already formulating in their mind what they think that person's saying or about to say. And so they already have it on their mind and they really didn't hear what that person says. I think that's really critical as we think about the mentee and mentor side. The other thing I think is important in the relationship is do find the things you have in common. We know people are not going to be the same. You come from different environments, different places, different backgrounds. But I have found that best is when I can find that thing we connect on, all of a sudden our relationship grows in different ways. I've had a mentee before where that wasn't the case and we struggled to keep, I feel like I was asking all the questions and wasn't sure if they were really wanting to participate in the program and being a mentee. I would say find your way to bond, find your thing that you guys enjoy doing, create different experiences. It doesn't always have to be sitting behind a desk and just asking questions and then taking off. It can, if you enjoy going to coffee or lunch or something else, do that. But you got to find your common things. to bond about,
Mhm.
to create a relationship. Once you have that foundation and rapport, more blossoms out of it.
Yeah.
Also making sure if just having a conversation monthly or weekly or however often you talk isn't enough, it's okay to ask and say, hey, could I come shadow you? Or even as a mentor to a mentee, hey, I would love to help you on a project you're working on, or, give you some advice on something else. But the more you create that foundation, the more the relationship and the opportunities blossom. So I think it's really important to that.
Basically, try it, but don't force it, is kind of what I'm hearing there. If there's not a relationship there, if there aren't things that you have in common, maybe that mentor is just not right for you.
Absolutely.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah. And I think it's okay to say that.
Mhm.
That's something I learned too, that my career and also my mentors have taught me, especially Nancy. She says, if you think it, feel it, and say it gently. And that's a thing to understand. Let's just say we were in a mentor and mentee relationship. It's just, we're not bonding. Maybe we're in two different places. It's okay for us to have that dialogue and say, okay, let's take a time out. Here's what I'm feeling. Are you feeling that way? Okay, no hard feelings. Let's go talk to whomever it is. Not everything is always going to work. And that's another life lesson, right? And whether business or personal is, that's okay. Not everything is going to click and always work. You give it a try, and then you have an open conversation, say it gently, and go tell somebody maybe there's a better alignment that might work better.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to get that right, because that's
Okay.
really good. If you think it and you feel it, say it, and say it gently.
Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic.
Isn't it?
That's
These are
so
all the
good.
nuggets that Nancy has taught me forever and that I really love. And it's helped train my brain from a leadership side. Again, like I said, okay, tough conversations. We need to have them. I can go in and have a great conversation with you to where you're open and understand that I want to help and we need to change something or whatever it is, without coming in and saying, Jared, you did this wrong and this is wrong and the business, da 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 da. How are you going to feel? Well, I just need to tell you how it is.
Yeah.
And I can say that gently.
Never bring that clicky pen again.
Right? I've never forgotten that first job right out of school. I'll never forget it.
But think about that though. Like, you could have been scarred for life for that, right? And instead, now it's like, no, I'm never going to forget it. But that was a positive memory.
I would tell someone else the same thing.
Yeah.
I want to help them learn. I want to help them give that experience, and they just haven't had it yet. So if it's a nervous habit, let's just not bring the clicky pen.
Yep.
Just those things that I'm glad people told me early. You just don't forget them.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What can a mentee bring to a mentoring relationship, and how do you suggest a Scott College of Business student discover that value for themselves?
A big question, and it's a good question. I'm partly thinking back to putting myself back in the shoes of that time in my life, and also thinking from the professional side and what I've learned, what could be helpful. I would say it's really being open and wanting to learn and have that relationship. If they come without that openness, they think they know it all already, they're just doing this because they have to, or it's a checkbox, or it's a requirement. They're not really into it, and they don't want to put into it, and they're not doing the follow-up, they're not doing the reach outs, listening, they're not showing up, or they're showing up disinterested. And I think coming with that professionalism and the willingness to say, I don't know what I'm going to learn, I don't know what's about to happen, I'm going to come though and be very open and wanting to build a relationship or see if there's potential for that connection in that relationship. And then I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to have questions. I'm going to ask them to help me with things. I'm going to ask them for opportunity. I'm going to ask them what I could do in a situation. And I think that's the biggest thing, because if certain ones haven't had that experience in having a mentor, they may not know what to show up with. So I think being a professional, being open, and being kind, give it a chance, have some questions prepared. It can start from there and it can blossom from there. And then it's a mentor's job to help make sure they nurture that as well and help guide and keep that going so that it can hopefully bloom into a good relationship.
Now, you haven't said this explicitly, but I want to make sure I'm hearing your feedback correctly. Would you say that vulnerability would be something that both the mentee and mentor need to bring to the relationship too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was talking about vulnerability earlier when I said being vulnerable with my coach. It can be a scary place. You're a student, you don't know these people, they're professionals, you look up to them because they are being suggested for someone that you talk with and work with and all of this. And I think as a mentor too, it's, you don't know the student and what setting they're coming in and how open and willing they are, both parties being vulnerable to seeing where the relationship can go, to seeing what each other can learn. So if it's not saying it can't be a good relationship. It could go deeper and further if the parties are vulnerable.
Yeah, I've worked with students in the past where they think, I'm working with this very successful person. I need to put my best foot forward. I don't need help. I know what I'm doing. All these things. When in reality, if they were vulnerable and simply asked for help, that mentor wants to help. As mentors, we sign up to help.
Yeah.
We're not here to judge. We're here to help. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, being vulnerable and just being open to knowing that I don't know all that's going to come out of this. I don't know all that I'm going to learn. Maybe I have some items I hope I learn and in a checkbox, but I absolutely think, the job of a mentee is not to show off to the mentor. It's to be who you are. Own who you are. We all are who we are. We shouldn't be ashamed of that. We should be proud of that. We might have goals and we want to go certain places. Here's where I'm at today, and here's what I'm going to do, and here's how I want to leverage this relationship to get to a different spot. And you're going to meet other people in your life that layer into that all help you grow and become who you are.
Yes, and hopefully those people in your life have the same investment in you as you do in them.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Last questions. One tip that you would give to a current Scott College of Business student continuing their academic careers with a goal of moving into the professional world. What's one tip that you have for them?
One, leverage it, enjoy it. There's a big journey ahead of you. Two, work to understand some direction of where you do want to go and what you want to do, and also be open. I would leverage, I don't think the alumni are leveraged enough, right? Sharing the messaging, thoughts. They're great that the leadership here in this college are connected to, and I think would be happy to connect people, whether that's a mentorship or just in, hey, have a meeting with them. They might be able to help you go forward. And I would say there is a life ahead of all of us. Even this was told to me last week while riding the Peloton bike. The instructor said, she was talking about the effort you put into things, and she said, you're as old as you've ever been, and you're as young as you'll ever be right now. I thought about that. There's so much opportunity ahead of us, things we don't even know, no matter what age you are. Leveraging that, being open to it, and also realizing that if you're waiting for something, one day I'll do this, one day, you're as young as you're ever going to be right now. Tomorrow, we're older.
Yeah.
A minute from now, we're older. I really thought about that, and I think it's just continuing to recognize that. Enjoy it. There's a journey ahead of you. Act now. Don't wait for things to happen. Take the initiative. Think about where you want to go, and it's okay if you do that and that's not perfectly what fits. Reevaluate, reassess, and continue to move forward and do it that way.
I love that.
Time is not something we get back.
It's always fun when your trainers give you advice while you're working out.
Oh yeah, I'm so mad at them.
Right? You can't be like, oh, that's so good. I really want to think on that, but you can't because all you can think about is not dying on the bike.
Yeah. Because sometimes they're like, you can go faster or harder. I'm like, no, I can. That's not great advice. But that one really hit me. Even in that moment, I was like, wow.
I found that a lot of the folks that we've interviewed are big readers. Reader yourself?
Yes, depending on what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll give you two options then. Either your most gifted book or your current favorite read.
Okay. Well, I'm going to touch on a professional read, and this is really to help explain the company RJE is. Back in 2003, Denny, our owner, was gifted a book called Hug Your Customer.
Okay.
It's about a clothing store that the individual Jack Mitchell owned. What it teaches all the way through is that you do all the things to take care of the customer and help them along whatever journey or whatever they're doing, and that will come back to you in return. So he owns this clothing store, and one of my favorite stories is about he has a client. This is, again, so go back to when everyone wore suits and ties, and that was the dress code.
Sure.
This individual had come into Jack's shop, got in a suit, and had a business meeting in New York. So fast forward days later, this gentleman calls Jack, and he goes, I left my suit at home. What am I going to do? I've got this business meeting and all of that. And he said, I'll pay, just ship it. Jack goes, don't worry about it right now. I know your sizes. I know what you need. We're going to ship it. Tell me where to ship it to. And he just shipped it to him. He wasn't worried about the money. He wasn't worried about what is in it for me. He wanted to take care of his client, and he shipped it. So RJE adopted this philosophy in 2003 called Hug Your Customer. And we joke, we're like, hey, we give physical hugs too, but really it's about taking care of you, helping when you come across a problem. We want to be there. We want to take problems away. We leave M&Ms on everyone's new desk to welcome them to their desk. We do book reports in our town halls on the Hug Customer, and everyone takes a turn monthly reading a chapter and talking about how we do it at RJE and what that means to us. Recently, we have pivoted to a book called Hug Your People, which is about the internal customer.
Oh, nice.
And really digesting that both of those are critically important. As I told you before, we could not do what we do without our people. My favorite, that's why I do what I do, and they're what makes us successful in doing what we do. So we are now focusing on that book and giving reports and talking about how that translates into, I would say, from a business side, we gift that book a lot.
Sure.
We have a few others that we call in our RJE library, but I would say that is the main one that really helps talk about RJE's care and our service and why we do what we do.
Love it. Hug Your Customer, and most recently, Hug Your People. Awesome. Well, Shelly, thank you so much
My
for this
pleasure.
interview today. This was great. I hope to have you back in the Scott
Yeah,
College Business.
sounds great.
Soon.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.